Good morning, everyone. This Shabbos we're going to read all about Bilam, the Gentile prophet, who attempted on behalf of Balak, the king of Moab, to curse the Jews, but God put blessings in his mouth rather than curses. What's fascinating is the following. One of the 13 principles of Jewish faith, as enlisted by Maimonides, the Rambam, is that never has there ever been a greater prophet than Moshe Rabbeinu. God never communicated his desire, his will, his laws, his ordinances to any human being beyond what he did to Moshe Rabbeinu. If you know the Yigdal prayer that we often sing in the synagogue, one of the passages, the Yigdal prayer is a poem that's sung, that's based on the 13 principles of Jewish faith. It says, Lo kam bi Yisrael k'Moshe od. Lo kam bi Yisrael k'Moshe od. Never has there risen in Israel a prophet like Moses. Yet the Talmud says, listen to the words, never has there risen a prophet in Israel like Moses. But that is only a prophet in Israel. But amongst the nations of the world, there has been a prophet as great as Moshe Rabbeinu. Who is that? Bilam, the prophet Bilam. So the Talmud says that Bilam was on the caliber, on the spiritual level of prophecy, like Moshe Rabbeinu. In Israel, there was never such a great prophet, but amongst the nations, there was. Why is that so? So the Talmud explains that in order that the nations of the world not say, yeah, you know why the Jews are so spiritual and devoted to God's will? Because they had a prophet like Moshe. Had you given us a prophet like Moshe, we would have been the same. So God, to give them equal opportunity, provided them with a prophet on the same caliber and the same spiritual level as Moshe, so they can't say it's because we didn't have a prophet like Moshe. Having said all of that, it's pretty shocking to read Pirkei Avot. Pirkei Avot says there are three traits that reflect the students, the disciples, the followers of Abraham, Avram Avinu, and there are three traits that represent the students, the followers, the disciples of the wicked Bilam, and he's called the wicked Bilam. What are the three traits of Avram Avinu? Ayin Tova, a positive outlook, a good eye. Ruach Nemucha, a humble spirit. V'nefesh shefela, and an ungreedy soul, meaning a content person. So the good three traits of Avram and all of his followers are to be, look positively on others, to be humble, and to be content and satisfied. However, what are the three negative traits of Bilam and his followers? They have a bad eye, they have an arrogant spirit, and they have a greedy, lustful soul. So how could it be that Bilam was the greatest prophet on the caliber of Moshe, and at the same time he had these horrible traits? And the answer is very interesting and somewhat obvious. You know, there are two ways to get rich. One way is to work hard. One way is to win the lottery, right? Typically, people who worked hard for their money have an appreciation for money. They handle their money responsibly. They spend it responsibly. They use it properly. Not always, but more often than not. But people, if you ever hear these stories, people win the Powerball and they become rich overnight, and 3 years later the money's gone. Why? Because they didn't work for it. They didn't earn it. Everything in life has to be earned. You know, people make the mistake. They want things to come quick and easy. But easy come, easy go. Same thing with spirituality. People want to know, why don't I walk into shul and suddenly feel spiritual? Did you put in some work? Did you study Torah? Did you meditate? Did you do good deeds? You have to earn it. You can't just... Someone gave me the example, people expect the shul to be like a drive-through car wash. You come in, they sprinkle the water, the soap, the brushes, you walk out brand new. No, you got to open the doors of the car and pull out all the mats and do some heavy cleaning if you want to be clean on the inside. You can't just be all new and fresh by walking into shul. The rabbi doesn't spritz his water and the cantor spritz his soap and boom, 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 everything's good. Judaism demands mitzvot. You got to work. You got to put effort into it. If you put effort into something, you'll feel the results, the reward, just like in any other area of life. The difference between Moshe Rabbeinu and Bilam was Moshe worked hard for his spiritual status. He had to develop himself. And there are midrashim that support that. Bilam was a gift. God said, okay, we need a prophet amongst the Gentiles as great as Moshe, so we're going to make him a prophet. He didn't have to earn it. If you don't earn something, it doesn't permeate you. It doesn't transform you. And therefore, his traits remained ugly and negative. And unfortunately, he was still an arrogant, greedy lustful person, because it was bestowed upon him from above as a gift. It was not something he had to toil for and have effort for. And therefore God makes us work for things in life. But the more we work for it, the more we could appreciate it, the more we could reap the rewards of it. In conclusion, a true story, there's a great rabbi in Israel years ago, his name was Rabbi Shradron. And he once noticed that a student skipped class in Israel. So he went over to the student afterwards and he said to him, "Where were you?" So the kid admitted that he went to see the soccer match, Maccabiah game. So the rabbi said to him, tell me about the game of soccer. So he explained to him how it goes, the X amount of players on each team, you got to get the ball in the goal. So the rabbi says to the student, "Tell me, do the players stay on the court 24 hours a day or they go home at night?" He said, "Of course they go home." He says, "So why doesn't one team show up in the middle of the night when the other team's not there and kick all the goals and win the game?" He looked at his rabbi, he says, "Rabbi, don't you understand the whole point of the game is that there's someone blocking you and preventing you from get the goal, and if you could get around the guy and get in the goal, then it's a point. But if the other team doesn't show up on the field and you kick goals, that's meaningless." The rabbi said, "Okay, so listen to what you're saying. You're saying is that only when there's a challenge, then it's an accomplishment. But if there's no challenge, it's not an accomplishment." He says it's easy to come to class when there's no soccer match going on. But when you have a soccer match in town and you don't go to the soccer match because you want to study Torah, that's considered a spiritual goal. There has to be an opponent trying to block you. And the same thing is every day we often